But go forward, Mike, with some additional wide receivers. I get that J.J. Nelson is another one that we should probably always have a glance at. He scored 2 touchdowns last week, one on the ground, one in the air. There's some explosiveness there. Nobody else to throw to.
Yeah, they're going to have to. So, I mean, you could see both of those guys go off because with that running game, it's a little – they're badass.
Yeah.
David Johnson's badass. So I wouldn't have a problem starting – like I said, it would be maybe even a Carson Palmer stack, possibly. He's been horrible, though.
It's been awful.
I like also –
wait if the sneak fits in there.
Yeah, I like Tyrell Williams, too.
Okay.
I got a nice little lineup going with
the Rivers stack.
Rivers, Bell, McCoy, Williams, Hill, Inman, Ertz. So, I mean, you can get good guys in there. But I'm not trying to use those guys. Like I said, I'm a little bit more iffy on the San Diego wide receivers, but I just want to do one line before I stack them, But I'd rather have Dontrell Inman, and that's not just because I'm starting him in my other league either. It kind of is.
Oh, he's got an opportunity. That Oakland game, I do see the Raiders coming back and putting a little bit of a beating on San Diego in San Diego. We'll find out. No,
I think I would bet them to win, but I think San Diego, it's going to be competitive in the sense of they're going to be able to move the ball. You saw what Kansas City was able to do.
I'll tell you what. The one thing you can count on in San Diego this weekend is you're probably going to have the best weather in all the NFL.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think so. So let's wrap up wide receivers, and if you got anybody else to add to that list, fire away.
I didn't necessarily, like I said, I mean, outside of the normal I think you could get some nice action out of Odell Beckham this week. But Detroit has been a little,
been a lot better.
It's been a lot better, but, it all depends. I'm just iffy with Odell just because of his attitude alone, let alone his matchups.
Yeah, until that Giants team can run the football, everything about him scares me. But Odell's a great player.
Exactly.
Do you like the Jordy Nelsons, Devontae Adams of the world?
I do. I don't know if I necessarily like the stack because I could see Aaron Rodgers getting his touchdowns. Yeah, I could see him getting his touchdowns from an odd source. The Richard Rodgers get one.
Okay.
One of these
the Jared Cooks.
But I would like either or. You know what I mean? For sure.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely maybe want to line up if you're free spending or if you're doing the $5 entry, where you would do an Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, and then an Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and then if you could afford it, but they're both pretty expensive, so then you're going to be leaning out your running back.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to leave this one more wide receiver, and then we're going to get jumping on to tight ends and get this one wrapped up here because we still want to talk about some 4 o'clock games. I have the tendency to pick on people because I'm a big bully, and that's what happens. Seth Roberts dropped anything and everything last Thursday night against the Kansas City Chiefs. Really cost the Raiders a lot of staying on the field opportunities, 3rd and short, 3rd and long. Anyhow, Seth Roberts has been a guy that when he scores touchdowns, the Raiders win football games. 2 of 9 targets last week. He's not going to do that again. And I do think that he will find ways to get open against a depleted San Diego Chargers secondary. That's not wonderful anyhow. Don't be afraid to sneak a Seth Roberts in there at 4,600. I know you don't particularly have to, but don't be afraid to do it because I bet you he's going to get about 6 catches, 70 yards, and a score.
That's not bad. That's good that you pointed that out because you kind of do have to in some of these lineups if you want to use some of the players we're having.
You need to find a cheapie. He's it.
I actually questioned that, and then I was thinking that you might get your production back from your number 1s and number 2s in Oakland, Cooper, and Crabtree.
Cooper should be on that list as well. He's somebody who needs to rebound, and he likes the Chargers.
He does. How's his shoulder?
It's still on the injury report. Probably won't come off of it. That's been bothering him for a few weeks. He took a pretty good shot. I know the cold last Thursday night really, really affected him. As an Alabama boy, I don't know that he did too well in those frigid temperatures in Kansas City. Fortunately, it's San Diego. They could probably play in shorts and a tank top in middle of December.
Yeah, and it's just a dry. It's not.
It's different stuff out there. So, to tight ends, my friend, as our clock is ticking.
Man, tight ends is easy. It's if you can start Eifert. I have Kelsey in a nice stack with Alex Smith.
Okay.
But it's really those two guys are on fire, and then to a lesser degree, I like Zach Ertz just because of the number of targets and overall production he's had in the last few weeks.
Good tight ends and rookie quarterbacks, hand in hand.
Yeah, and for the same reason that I would like Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
So I really didn't venture too much below the 5,800 mark. So you have 5,800 and 5,900 is Rudolph and Ertz respectively. And then obviously you kind of make the jump to Kelsey at 6,900 and then Eifert at 72. Ideally, both of those guys are great matchups. If my mind serves me right, I think Eifert has a little bit better matchup.
Slightly.
As far as points given to that position. But it's not. It's negligible when you look at who Tennessee has played. They really haven't played too many formidable, faced too many formidable tight ends. So I give that a wash. So, again, not to make it difficult, but you might want to start identical lineups and put each of those guys in because they're pretty close in value as far as only 300 away if you can afford it.
I'm going to throw you a value pick at tight end.
What's that?
I'm going to throw you a value pick at tight end.
Okay.
Kyle Rudolph, you mentioned, that Indianapolis Colts defense is really, really porous. I'm not a fan of anything they do. I see Rudolph finding the end zone. The only thing that scares me about Kyle Rudolph this week is the possible potential return of one Adrian Peterson.
Okay.
I think if Peterson's back anywhere inside the 10, 20 in the red zone,
the ball.
I can see Minnesota just wanting to feed him the rock and get AP. You got to get a guy like that. He's a thoroughbred. He needs a head of steam. He needs something to go forward. I can see if he plays, I see that being slightly damaging to Kyle Rudolph because that Indianapolis Colts defense is really, really permeable. If there's an opportunity here, I like the Minnesota Vikings a lot in this game. If AP plays. Now, I know they're very banged up front, and that's been a problem for them all year long. But sliding down the ranks, Antonio Gates kills the Raiders year in and year out. He has for 12 years. I don't know if that's the case anymore because this is a different Raider team. But his last outing, 5 targets, 4 catches, 30 yards, and a touchdown. They'd love to get him the ball in the red zone against the Oakland Raiders. It's kind of a rite of passage if you're a San Diego Charger coach. When you come in, it's Raider week, and somehow or another Antonio Gates needs 3 touchdowns. Those are the old days. But last week, 9 targets, 5 catches, 61 yards. Hunter Henry touchdown snaked him. That Hunter Henry's going to be pretty good, by the way. He's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Not yet, but he's going to be good. But I do think that at $5,300, Antonio Gates deserves a look.
Deserves a little look.
I think so. So kickers and defenses. And defenses. Do you look too much further after?
You're not going to like this, but I'm going to be the kid who just copies the guy's homework next to him.
Sometimes
and I'm just going to go with the advice that you gave us last week and go with Nick Novak at kicker. It's the typical matchup scenario with the number of points that they're giving up to the kicker position is ridiculous there at Jacksonville. So I'll go ahead and do that without hesitation. I know it's not very creative, but they're giving number 1 in points. So and it's at Houston. So I'm going with that, and I'm going with it across the board because I'm sick of busting my brain at this position and getting it wrong.
Well, in this particular lineup that I have set up here, I'm going to have some room to work with. But I don't mind the Nick Novak play at all. That's a team that has trouble scoring inside the 30. They turn the ball over to the kicker quite a bit. The Jacksonville Jaguars are all but done. Gus Bradley's seat is so hot, he'll never sit down again. Things are changing in Jacksonville at the end of this season. And Houston's still fighting to win a division, and they're very, very close to doing it. I think they do everything they can to put points on the board and make sure they beat a division rival in the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Houston wins that game probably by about 6 points. And of those 6 points, all of them will be scored by field goal. I like Nick Novak.
Yeah, I think so. There's not, and at the price at $4,700, obviously you can only go 200 lower. So I'm not. I hate gambling like I've been the last couple of weeks when I've tried to. Okay, I'm going to go with the high dollar kicker and got shit from them. So.
That's right. Let's jump into defense because we got to roll to the 4 o'clocks, and we're getting close to that clock ticking on us.
Man, I think Baltimore.
Easy play, dude.
I think Baltimore's going to bounce back. 4,700. I really like what overall. If you look at the points that they're averaging, it just screams to me. Start me.
Yeah.
At home.
I like the Houston Texans this week.
Okay.
I do. I think Blake Bortles is miserable. I think he's an awful player.
I
don't know. Did you happen to hear? This was like 5-6 weeks ago, and it might have even been. No, it wasn't. It was definitely an afternoon game because Rich Gannon was calling the game. And I listened to Rich Gannon talk about Blake Bortles and comment that Bortles, in an interview, had told Rich Gannon that, as a passer, I don't feel comfortable throwing the football, and it was something I had to learn how to do. Right. And when I heard that, my ears fell right off the sid of my head.
What does that even mean?
It means that I suck at this, but somehow I got a job.
Did he used to be a wide receiver or some shit?
Maybe as a younger man. I don't know. I don't know too much about Bortles' history prior to his life at UCF. I have to assume he was a high school quarterback. But what I think he was suggesting that he is not the most natural passer. And when you're not a natural passer, a la guys like Tim Tebow, when you tend to get to these higher levels, people will take your throwing motion and try to fix it. They'll try to speed it up. Bortles has a very long, very round wind-up. It's really unimpressive. The release is very, very slow. So what they try to do, they try to get the arms higher, the hand higher, and try to get more of a slingshot release where you're shooting the ball out with your wrist. Dan Marino was the greatest at it anybody will ever see. Dan Marino could put his hand next to his ear and throw the ball 50 yards. It was impressive. Bortles just doesn't throw the ball well. He makes a lot of mistakes, and I think that his lack of confidence in his own physical ability is starting to reflect and turn up and show itself a lot in his actual gameplay. Long and short of it is Blake Bortles sucks. So any opportunity that I have to start a defense, especially a division rival where the defense is amplified the second time around, I'm starting the Houston Texans against Blake Bortles. I'm going to watch him throw a couple picks, lose a fumble. Jadeveon Clowney is making me eat my words because I said he sucks. He does not suck. That guy can play. He's finally healthy. I think he'd been listening to me for a long time, and I just was making him angry over the years, and now he's turned up. So I love that Houston Texans defense this week, especially at 5,000, excuse me.
Doesn't sound bad. I just couldn't get there in any of my lineups that I did. Mm-hmm. So I have $0, $100, $200 left. So they were kind of out of my reach. But yeah, I wouldn't have any problem starting them. One I would like to avoid, and they're the high dollar value one. I don't think you're going to get the points out of the Buffalo Bills that you think you are on defense. So that's
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
No, but if you look at what they've done, look, 2 points to Jacksonville. When Jacksonville went to them. For that same point, and now, again, Robert Griffin III, they could get 30 points. But
it's really possible.
I feel like they just don't. They've only brought it 3 games all year, 4 games, excuse me, and the 4th game was just a 10-pointer. I'm gauging bringing it, getting 15 points or more.
Okay.
So I just think they're another team that's kind of done, and it's just not going to be. I think maybe I'm not going to say Cleveland's going to win, but they're going to fight. They're going to fight. You're going to see heart from Cleveland.
Well, I think you have to. These guys are fighting. Again, this is the old 1099, playing for the number on the back of your jersey story. Yeah, I think that this team is not giving up on Hugh Jackson. They're being told he's coming back next year. Now, whether he is or not remains to be seen. Nobody wants to go 0-16. Nobody. You don't want your name on that team.
No, I agree. But what does he have to work with?
Nothing. absolutely nothing, and nobody, players, coaches, nobody wants to be associated with 0-16.